Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially back. It's been a long time no see. How are you guys doing? Colts football is right around the corner, and we couldn't do it without you guys. We appreciate our support, and we are back in full motion. I got my guys with me today. We're going to start off with swing it to Landon. Landon, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Busy as all get out. Going through a move, trying to move houses. That's why I'm in our bedroom right now because every other room is just full of boxes and it's a disaster. So, excuse me. I'm also getting over a cold. So, for the foreseeable future, and especially during the season, you're probably going to see this view quite often. None of the cool cult stuff because my wife won't let me put that up. She, the mirror and the leaves and the lights and the flowers and stuff. So that's what we got to work with. But other than that, doing great. Just football's right around the corner. Obviously tomorrow things kick off with college. So super excited. I got Arch Manning versus Caleb Downs tomorrow. So it's like a kid in a candy store.
Absolutely, man. College football is here. It's been a long time. Colts film room. How are we doing, man? Long time no see.
Long time no see. I'm good. Football's back. Big off season. I can't remember the last time we've done this. It's kind of impromptu, just kind of when Landon wants to start talking about football again. It's good. It's good.
So yes, we are here talking football. We're going to go over the 53-man roster, and then we're going to go over the practice squad moves as well. Let's go ahead and start off with the 53-man roster. So we got the 53-man roster right here. The Colts made it official. We got who we need to see. We got our starting quarterback. We got our captains. And, just going off the brink for the offense, we're going to start on there and give our thoughts on the offensive side, and then we're going to transition to the defense. So for our quarterbacks, we got Daniel Jones, Riley Leonard, Anthony Richardson. And then for running backs, we got DJ Giddens, Tyler Goodson, Jonathan Taylor. Wide receivers, we got Josh Downs, Ashton Doolin, Anthony Gould, A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr. Tight ends, we got Big Mo Alley Cox, Will Mallory, Drew Ogletree, and the new rook, Tyler Warren. Offensive line, we got Bordellini, Gonsalves, Quentin Nelson, Danny Pinter, Bernard Ryman, Braden Smith, Luke Tenuta, Jalen Travis, and Dalton Tucker. Now, on paper, I would say it's a pretty competitive roster, but games aren't played on paper. You got to go out there and play football. So we're going to swing it to Lander first. What is your thoughts on this 53-man roster starting with this offense? How confident are you?
I'm very confident. As confident as you could be based off of what we've seen the past, few years with the team. I don't think anybody's expecting, Philadelphia Eagles, Denver Broncos offense. But as far as talent goes, just on paper, there's some very talented players on here. This is probably, well, not even probably. And I know it's just opinion, but in my opinion, this is the most well-rounded offense and really roster in general that there has been in the Chris Ballard era. There's not too many weaknesses. Maybe you could point to the first-time starters there on the offensive line in Gonsalves and Bordellini, but even they played relatively well this preseason. Biggest question mark is the same question mark it has been for, it feels like, since Andrew Luck walked out that door. Yeah. And that's the quarterback room. So that's going to be the biggest wild card, the biggest question mark. But there's a lot of talent for who, the quarterbacks to step into and have a successful season. It's all there in front of them.
I agree. And, with the Colts making it official as Daniel Jones as QB1, the perspective changes a little bit. Of course, with Richardson, his pros and cons, and then even Daniel Jones. But, with the narrative, of course, it stirred up the Colts fan base with everything. What was your thoughts on the situation? I know you guys probably talked about it already. What was your thoughts on, QB1 being Daniel Jones moving forward to the season?
I think it was the best move to win now. I kind of put that out there. So I'll preface it this way. I wasn't there for every snap of training camp. I wasn't there for the joint practices. I wasn't there for it was certainly not in the meeting rooms. But I feel like when you got to the preseason and I could watch the film that I could watch, I think you saw with Daniel Jones that the Colts could get to the offense that they wanted to get to, which is a lot more, which sounds kind of backwards, but a little bit more the day one install stuff, where I just felt like 2024, if you really go watch it, Richardson can make a special play. We already know Richardson can make the special play. There's not a play on the field that he can't make. It's kind of the ability to get in and out of the huddle and run the offense, where obviously he had the one play versus Baltimore that you don't want to see. He had, I thought, a kind of a shaky up and down performance versus Green Bay. I know he had the one throw that got called back, and that's just kind of the Anthony Richardson experience. You get this ridiculous play that obviously bails him out of the fact that there were like 3 or 4 shaky ones. And, it leaves the Colts in a little bit of a weird scenario. I think what Landon and I would both agree on is that, like, I think throughout this process, because we've kind of rode the wave, quote unquote, of like being, I always thought it was going to be Richardson because I didn't think the team would ever sacrifice the long-term vision for short-term results. But, as they were clear that they were going to do that, I think if you're going to go for short-term results, who's going to give the Colts the best chance to win in this season? I think it's going to be Daniel Jones. So where they go from here is anyone's guess. I know Daniel Jones has not had a history of being particularly healthy, but I do think there's a lot to get excited about, which we can talk about. It's a question mark. I'm not here to sell you on anything that Daniel Jones hasn't been, but I think the one thing that you can say is that you have to be at least a little bit curious about Daniel Jones in this kind of situation. Now, I'm not saying excited, but like this is probably the best offense that Daniel Jones has played in. His guard.
Oh, it's not probably.
No, it definitely is.
There's no probably to it.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, I mean, you had Saquon in that 2022 year, but they had nothing at the receiving. They really had not much at receiver. And then in 2024, where they draft Malik Neighbors, and you obviously he's probably the best receiver Daniel Jones has thrown into. They didn't really have much of a running game, and the offensive line was still an issue when they had, really, went in to go try and fix that. So, I think that I'm at least curious. I do think that, like, you go back to that 2023 year, and I think this is what it really comes down to. Is you go back to that 2023 year, they felt like they were on the doorstep with a team that just wasn't as talented as it is in 2025. Like they were a quote unquote a play away. I think they learned their lesson about as an organization in 24 about learning what it is to be a play away. But I think you go back to that 23 year and you're like, man, we just need someone to just get in and out of the huddle. We have Josh Downs, we have Michael Pittman, we have Tyler Warren, who we really like. We have Alec Pierce. We have one of the best backs in the league. We have an offensive line we believe in. Can we just get a guy to get in and out of the huddle and help us run the offense and find completions on the football field? Anthony Richardson made the special play, and that saved him in some moments, especially, I think, New England and versus the Jets. But I think the other thing that is worth pointing out is, like, it was just too much to overcome a lot of the time. He'd make a special play, but it was like the time for the special play needed to be 2 quarters ago when we weren't, missing easy completions. So I think that's something. I'm not ready to give up on Anthony Richardson. I do think that, like, at this point, we're probably selling ourselves on a little bit of a fairy tale that it happens in Indianapolis, but I hope I'm wrong. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, the sky's still the limit. Hopefully Daniel Jones doesn't lose his job that they gave him. And then if we stuck with Anthony Richardson, they should have just used him from the jump. It's going to be interesting to see going into week 1. I know we are a favorite to win week 1, so that's a good outlook moving forward. We're going to transition to the defensive side. The defensive side, they got a lot of talent on the defensive side. There's a group of positions on the defensive side that worries me a little bit, and that's the linebacker room. But let's just go down the list of the 53 for the defensive side. We got Adetomiwa Adewale, we got DeForest Buckner, we got Samson Ebukam, Neville Gallimore, Latu, Taekwon Lewis, Kwity Paye, Tim Smith, Grover Stewart, JG Tutamaloa, Eric Johnson II. For linebackers, we got Joe Bacci, Zaire Franklin, Cameron McGrone, Segun Alubi. For corners, we got the new acquisition, Mekhi Blackman from the Vikings, Jonathan Edwards, Xavier Howard from free agency, Jalen Jones, Kenny Moore II, and Shavarius Ward. Huge upgrade, in my opinion, for the corners. For the safeties, we got Cam Bynum, Nick Cross, Daniel Scott, Ronnie Thomas II. I'm 50-50 on that. And then for special teams, we got Luke Rhodes, Rigoberto Sanchez, and Spencer Schrader. Let me go to Colts film room. What's your view on the defense? I said the linebackers are a little sketchy in my opinion, but what's your overall view?
It's just not done. Like, I think the offense, I think Landon and I could probably both agree that was probably the chalkiest. Like, there wasn't any real surprises. I think we could talk about Jelani Woods, but even then, I think the writing was on the wall for a long time now. I think this side is like a little bit just up in the air about what they're going to do. Obviously, they trade for Mekhi Blackman to add. That was someone they were trying to trade for a while. They obviously lost Hunter Waller and Justin Wally, which is a big is a disappointment. But I do think that it gives them some opportunities to go find some DBs. I think you look at this DB room and obviously you feel really good about Charvarius Ward. Like, you signed him for that deal, and obviously he hasn't really taken too many snaps. I know you feel good about Kenny Moore as the nickel corner. And then it's kind of just like, we'll see. Like, you have Jalen Jones coming off was it hamstring? It was a hamstring injury. So he's coming off the hamstring injury. You'd love to get him back. Xavier Howard feels like a guy that could start, I think, week 1 for him, just because just the veteran presence that I think that they're looking for. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see Edwards step in there. I think the one thing that you talk about with Miami is just the speed, and he's faster than the rest of the other guys. So I think that he'll get some run pretty early on as a UDFA. The linebacker room is shaky for sure. I think the one thing that I'm really concerned about at the moment is there's not a lot of guys that can match up with speed. So in certain defenses, if a linebacker has to carry a receiver vertical in some of this match defense that we're doing, that's a big problem. That's a big, big problem. So obviously you're not going to find a linebacker on planet Earth that's going to run with Tyreek Hill, but you need to find a guy that can at least somewhat hang. And I don't think the Colts really have that right now, especially with Carlisle out. So we'll see how Lou adapts. But overall, I think that this defensive unit, Landon put a tweet out there, and it's so true. The Colts deserve credit for this offseason because their pass defense was straight up losing them games. I mean, if you were somewhat of a promising receiver, you were going for 100 yards last year. And part of it was the scheme. Part of it was the players too. Like Chris Ballard, we sat here probably a year ago today, and the whole thing was why the corners and the safety sign who was it?
Justin Simmons.
Yes, Justin Simmons. Everyone wanted Justin Simmons. Everyone wanted Quandre Diggs. Everyone wanted people,
anybody.
Yeah, anyone to come in here. And I think that they deserve credit for the approach, because when injuries happen, instead of being okay, we believe in Justin Edwards. And it's not that they don't. It's that we're not going to bang our heads against the wall, to use a Chris Ballard quote, and we're going to go out there and continue to look for guys. And I don't think that was something that Chris Ballard did in 24 and 23.
Well, I mean, to put it into perspective, because I was going through and excuse me, and I saw this tweet that I'd actually made, I want to say going into week 3 last year. And basically every cornerback that Chris Ballard, into training camp before the season starts, the same presser that he just had this week. We like our guys. We believe in our guys. We really, think they're going to take a step forward. And going into week 3, the only one that was left in that room from the start of the season was Jalen Jones. Everybody else was either on IR or had been cut and replaced. One guy made it through the first 2 weeks of the season last year. And this was a problem that you could see coming from a mile away. and we've kind of went through this song and dance with Chris Ballard multiple times on multiple positions, whether it was the wide receiver room, whether it was the tight end room, whether it was the left tackle situation after Costanzo. I mean, everybody could kind of see, like, you just have one huge area of concern that's going to basically sink your season. And in crucial moments in the Houston game to end the year, in the Arizona game, or, the end of the season in 2021 with Wentz, with the left tackle situation, the Matt Ryan, there were plays at the, end of the years, or maybe not in 2022 because that was a disaster. But I know at the end of 2021 and at the end of 2023, when they were right there with Houston, things just fell apart. And it was usually that position group that we all harped on all off season that let them down. And so I don't really see that this year. Like you said, the linebacker room, yeah, there's some worry there, but I don't want to come out here and act, there's not, it's just completely void of talent and they just have no shot.
Joe Bocci film is good.
Joe Bocci had a hell of a preseason.
The Joe Bocci film is good. They just have no depth. And
Chad Muma, I think he's an athletic guy.
He's probably their most athletic linebacker. Now he's not Carlisle and he's not like Okereke, but he's definitely, I think he ran 4.63 at 250 pounds or something like that, 257 pounds. Ridiculous. Well, not ridiculous, but just really good athlete.
Yeah.
The one thing that I've noticed, and I want to bring this point up too, is that when you go look at Chris Ballard's drafts, a lot of these guys that he takes swings on don't pan out in year one. And I think that's where this starts to, where he deserves the benefit of the doubt. And the left tackle situation is more nuanced than I'm probably making it. But when they drafted Ryman, it was really bad at first. And then he continued to stick with it. And then it ended up working out. Same, I think, would go for the right guard spot.
Oh, yeah. No, but that was the season after the Eric Fisher.
Yes. And that's why totally. But even then they were really gambling on a day two guy to come in and help. He was third round pick, Ryman was? Yeah. So, but I think the difference with this year is you couldn't sell yourself. I think you could probably sell yourself on Jalen Jones continuing to take a step maybe at corner, but you really couldn't sell yourself on anyone in this DB room outside of Nick Cross, Kenny Moore, and potentially Jalen Jones taking a step. So this made sense to get as aggressive. And then I think the other thing is they hired a DB brain trust from their defensive coordinator onwards. They had Lou Anarumo, who obviously has an extensive background coaching DBs. They hired Chris Hewitt, who I think is the things that I've heard are just
probably one of the best DB evaluators in football.
Yeah, exactly. He is that is not just Colts, me trying to spew positivity. No, this guy is the Colts are very lucky to get Chris Hewitt in the building. And then they got Jerome Henderson, who has an extensive background coaching too. So that's three guys. So they can't really afford.
And that was three guys.
Nothing. They have to get guys, I believe.
And that was three guys who came in from an outside perspective. And they said, okay, we've got to nuke this thing. This is up to par. Yep. So they, like you said, they kept Nick Cross, they kept Jalen Jones, they kept Kenny Moore. And that's pretty much it. I mean, Daniel Scott.
Now, and Juju Brents I think is a unique case where I do think if he doesn't suffer that injury in camp, he maybe gets a chance. But I think they looked at it and they're he comes back for that week 3 preseason game, and it kind of at that point, if I had to guess, I don't want to put it. I think it's probably hey, let's give this kid a chance to put some film out there for wherever he goes next, because I just don't think that he was probably in the plans at that point. I think that the injury was probably a little bit too much to overcome for him.
And that goes back to the tweet I made that you had kind of referenced. It seems to me, and this is just from me knowing football and looking in from an outside perspective into their moves and what they're thinking have been, they are no longer this whole gamble thing, like you were saying. They're going with guys that they trust. This is a full on.
That's the Lou way. I put a tweet out there. It was like Lou Anarumo asked Chris Ballard what he thinks before he makes a roster move.
Yeah, like not only with Lou, but like even the quarterback situation. Like they are building this season, and to me, the main big bold italic line of the 2025 offseason should be trust. Who do I trust? Whether it's a guy that can't stay healthy, whether it's a guy that hasn't performed, whether it's both of those issues, like who do I trust that starting week 1, we can go out there and we can win football games? Because a lot of people are tied up in like the development of rookies, and that is a great thing to have. Like you want them to be able to learn and to grow. But I think where teams fall into trap, and this is where a team like the Green Bay Packers excels, a team like the Ravens with Chris Hewitt, like these type of organizations excel, is because they can bring in these developmental guys, but they're not expecting them on day one to play such a massive role in the outcome of the season. They allow them to kind of learn the game, to grow into themselves, and then, usually that's why you see so much success with those organizations. Whereas Chris Ballard, I think, where he's really kind of fallen into a trap, and I don't want to make this a Chris Ballard podcast, but is he's drafted these guys, these developmental guys, these huge RAS guys that maybe, don't do everything right on the football field. And they're relying on them from day one to make an impact in a position that is shorthanded. And that's where they've kind of fallen into the crux of the issues. And so I think this offseason has been like a huge departure for that, where it's like we can take guys that we still want to develop, but we're not relying on these guys to save our season.
Totally. And I think the one thing about that too is like you have to consistently draft well over time to be able to do what the Green Bay Packers, and actually it's kind of weird because they have relied on young people very early on, just when they go through.
Very young. It's the youngest team in football.
Exactly. And I think
I just mean historically.
Yeah. Totally. And I think that like the Colts actually have drafted well over time. Like I understand people are pulling up the 23 class, and yes, the 23 class is not great. But when you think about like his tenure of like pretty much drafting the entire offensive line, they don't go out and get free agent offensive linemen. They don't go out and get free agent wide receivers. That was all drafted as
running
well.
Backs.
Running back is another one. I look and I see we're getting things about not drafting well in the secondary. Yes, that has been bad. But what's ironic about Chris Ballard is that he's had success drafting DBs before, but just not when he got to Indianapolis. And then he's also had success bringing in free agent corners. Obviously, Gilmore is the one that everyone talks about. I always thought Xavier Rhodes was underrated when he played. Was another late signing that I think he like was on par with Gilly for like a stretch there.
Well, like, Kenny Moore, undrafted free agent.
Kenny Moore is he was a waiver claim. He was a waiver
Samuel
claim.
Womack. Samuel Womack.
Yeah, they're not on the same level, but like, yeah,
well, no,
I know what you mean.
Like Womack had some success last year. Like he almost single-handedly saved that DB room from being just the worst in the league.
I mean, it was still the worst in the league, but like kept them afloat. I know what you mean. So like, I think when you overall look at this defense and how it is going with Lou Anarumo is not going to he didn't take this job to do what he did in Cincinnati, where it's like, you're just like kind of stuck with that guy. Like they're going to get aggressive in bringing in guys. Now, I don't know what it'll look like. I kind of thought they were going to sign Mike Hilton to bring him in. I'm thinking that it has to do potentially as a Kenny Moore. But I don't really know. I don't know. I thought he was going to come in and potentially play safety. But I think that he's just not going to put out guys that he doesn't trust. Now, I love the defensive line room. Obviously, Isaiah Land, losing him. I kind of just think it was a scheme thing. Like that's a little bit lighter than I think Lou Anarumo likes at that position, because Isaiah Land isn't bad at football by any means. So, I
was actually thinking, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I am curious in your thoughts, because I was driving down the road yesterday and I had this thought of, I mean, I know we all love Latu, and we're all very high on Latu. I think, like, we think he has a chance to be a really good football player. But with the way that Lou kind of like looking at his past, defensive ends and guys that he loves and his scheme and stuff, I was thinking if he's here last year, do they draft Jared Verse? Is like Verse seems like much more of a scheme fit.
Yes.
Is Verse
I actually do.
If Lou is here? And I had that thought driving down the road, and I'm like, man, if Lou was here just 1 year earlier, it's like there's a really good shot that we end up with Jared Verse over Latu, and then we're having
and that's what the Colts have really missed. Like they have the best interior defensive tackle room in probably football. I want to feel pretty good about saying that now. The Cowboys have certainly gotten better there. There's also the Buccaneers are pretty good. I'm going to forget one. But I still would. I think universally, it's not a crazy take to say the Colts have the best defensive tackle combo in football. They haven't had really much on the edge. They had Samson Ebukam was like their lead sack guy 2 years ago. They basically had nothing. Now, if you go watch the 24 season, I've said this and I still feel this way. The defensive line never stood a chance. Like teams would quick game them to death, and no one was ever going to get it must have been so frustrating to be a defensive lineman because you barely got your rush started and the ball's out, and that's kind of how the Colts lost games. So I think that that's just why they are taking the more aggressive approach. If we're going to play more press man on third downs, give ourselves a chance to give Latu, to give Buckner, to give Ebukam, Taekwon Lewis. Quiddy is another one. They have waves of good, not great guys. They don't have the generational elite guy that you're game planning for. There's also
they don't have the Michael Parsons. They don't have the Trey Hendrickson.
They're not, but they're not the only. I want to make that clear. Is they're not the only team to have that.
Yeah, there's maybe you have Trey Hendrickson. You've got Myles Garrett. You've got
Micah Parsons, you have TJ Watt, you have
so I mean you're talking about maybe 5 to 6 teams out of 32.
I would say there's 10 teams that have the elite dude and
Nick Bonito.
You could point to you can point to I think there's that second tier, but you know what I mean? The Colts still don't have that. I think Latu has a chance. We'll have to see. I think he has to prove it in year 2.
Absolutely.
So there's that. But I think overall, I'm very optimistic about this defense. I was excited about Lou. Before when they were going through the hiring process and they were interviewing Lou, that was obviously people were on Dennis Allen. For me, Lou was right there at a 1B. That was not some sort of consolation prize. I thought with Dennis Allen going to Chicago. I thought Lou was a really, really good option. I thought he was, for the reasons that everyone has already talked about. Things, obviously, talent-wise, have not improved for other reasons.
The biggest difference with Lou that I was really excited about is you have a guy that's not just going to go out there and say, it couldn't be more polar opposite from Gus Bradley. You want to talk about two ends of.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Gus Bradley was very much scheme oriented. We're going to run this scheme. We're going to run it every week. We're not going to change it up. Now, he did adjust a little bit, especially.
I think he gets a little too much hate where people think he just called. He showed up with a napkin.
He's a very scheme rigid guy. Where
I think he gets a little too much hate. He was not good. And to be hand up, I think I want to put this take out here. I think if you could look back and there's one decision that I probably hold against Shane Steichen the most in his entire coaching tenure that he probably wishes he had back too, is that after that 23 season, he moved on from Gus Bradley and didn't keep him for 24 because it just felt it just totally fell off the rails. They start off the year, they give up record-setting run defense. Then the pass defense crumbles in a game versus the Jaguars in a rainy day where they let Brian Thomas Jr. Run all over him. And then they just can't. They found a little bit of a groove there during the Anthony Richardson benching, but it was just mostly bad the entire. And then it was obviously crumbled when they needed it to work in the Giants game. So I think that's the one decision. I don't know if we could probably have that debate for another day, but I think that's the one decision where if I look at like, I understand why he did it, and I maybe defended it at the time, but like looking back on it, it's like, why did I convince myself that was a good idea? You know what I mean? That was not a good idea.
Well, I think, starting as a new coach, like it does, like Gus Bradley.
It's very easy after the 23 season to convince yourself we were on the doorstep of the playoffs. Continuity. Why am I? We're building something. We overachieved.
If these guys take another step forward, the same song and dance the Colts have been on it for years.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm really excited about Luke and just the stuff. And it was even like, obviously you're not like tipping your hand in the preseason, but some of the stuff he was even doing in the preseason, I was just like, oh yeah, like this. Yeah.
I think it's different. So like, here's my thought. I actually don't think teams are vanilla in the preseason. It's not like they're rushing 4 every single time. I think you're seeing some pretty.
No. That wasn't what I was saying. It was more of just like,
I know
you're not like tipping your hand, and you're not, you don't have the type of game planning, and your starters aren't out there, and
they played cover 1 most of the preseason. Like they played a lot of man coverage in the preseason because they wanted to see who could cover. But yeah, I think ultimately this is probably the side of the ball that I'm the most excited for. I'm honestly like, it's hard to get. Obviously, I think we do the fan thing where like, you just convince yourself that everything's great right before the season. But I don't think that I don't think it's like bad. Like, again, like if I looked at something, I'm like, this is just, I learned from 24 because I tried to convince myself way too many times that things are better than they were. And like, I just believe so much in the staff and the turnaround that I was like, I'm just going to like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and they didn't deserve it. I feel like now I'm probably a little bit more critical, i.e. the quarterback position. And I'm looking at this and like, how do you not get excited about this receiving core? How do you not get excited about this run game? How do you not get excited about fresh ideas on the defensive side of the ball from a guy who's done it literally at the highest level? And what I mean by that is coached in a Super Bowl, shut down Patrick Mahomes when it mattered the most, has came up with some game plans that have really given offensive coordinators problems. Yes. Yeah. And then a change of scenery might be good for Lou too. Now it could also all be terrible. Like I think with this team, you could look at the glass half full, and I'm looking at it real good, but you could also look at the glass half empty and be like, this linebacker situation is a mess. This DB room is in flux.
They don't have the elite pass rusher.
They don't have an elite pass rusher. I don't know what I'm getting out of Daniel Jones. The offensive line has 2 new starters, both rookies. There's ways to convince yourself. I just think the floor is 7 wins with this team. I think the schedule is a little bit easier. They played the entire NFC North, and that was a problem. I think getting to play the AFC West will give you a little bit more opportunity. A couple, one of those being Denver, who you played already. But I think that there's no reason that, with the AFC West and the NFC West, that the Colts aren't right there in the mix. I feel like that's such a Chris Ballard line, but like all this stuff about, the Colts are starting Daniel Jones, so now they're going to be competing for Arch Manning. Like, I think you could make that argument if Anthony Richardson was starting, because it's like he lost the competition. Like, if he was good, Anthony Richardson would be playing. Like that's
people's go-to in this, and I think this has been, and it's something I haven't talked about yet.
The Colts are just not bad enough. I think we can all agree.
This is what I want to get.
The Colts are just not bad enough. Even if they're tanking, they're not bad enough to do it.
Yes, I see this comment constantly, and it tickles that part in my brain that just irks the living shit out of me. Excuse my language, but like the whole Anthony Richardson is 8-8 or 8-7 as a starter, and Daniel Jones is 22-44-1. Like, that's, to me, like, that is the most surface level ignorant analysis you could ever.
He's going, folks.
I mean, it is so ignorant. I'm sorry, you cannot judge a player's value or a player's worth on what their record is in a completely different situation. I mean, and that's why I got really whenever Chris Ballard mentioned the Alex Smith thing, to me, like, not the player comparison, but the situation comparison to me is perfect. And I'm not even talking about the Kansas City stuff, but like Alex Smith, like people, I don't know if people just forgot because of the career that he ended up turning into. And like, was he still top league quarterback? Was he still Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion? No, but he was he was a really good quarterback. He was a really good player. He even had success in Washington before the injury. But like, going back to the first 6 to 7 years, and he missed the season. So really the 6 years of playing on the field, people forget Alex Smith was labeled as one of the biggest busts and one of the biggest losers in NFL history. I'm not talking about of that time. I'm talking about in NFL history. And all it took was Jim Harbaugh to come in, remake that roster, him get put in a better situation, even in San Francisco. Like, him get put in a better situation.
And he goes to the playoffs with
in the next year they're 13-3 and they're knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. And like, I mean, what happened? Like, did Alex Smith just change as was he just a completely different fundamental player and fundamental guy than he was? No, that's not what happened. He got put, I mean, like, yeah, do you improve as the years go? Most of the time, absolutely. But he got put in a situation with better weapons. Michael Crabtree comes along. The offensive line with Staley and those guys get situated. Jim Harbaugh runs the ball and puts him in a system that fits his strengths. The defense kind of steps up because Harbaugh makes the coaching change on the defensive side of the ball. And all of a sudden you have a guy that's one of the biggest busts and one of the biggest losers with his quarterback record in history that goes 13-3. And I don't understand people now holding the 22-44-1 against Daniel Jones, because a quarterback doesn't win games on his own. A quarterback doesn't.
Like Mike Trout's a terrible player because the Angels stink.
That's I mean, like, exactly. Like, it's so stupid. Like, I can't believe we're in the year of our Lord 2025 and we still have quarterback wins arguments going on.
So that's bad. So here's kind of, I think I can put the Anthony Richardson
situations.
Yes, totally. Why do you think Gardner Minshew goes to the Raiders and plays terribly, but he had Pro Bowl season in 23? Here's kind of my thoughts. The reason that Anthony Richardson is so enamoring and why people can't quit him is because the potential is literally uncapped. He can throw the ball a mile. He can run 4.4. He's made plays that literally you look at this and you are like, no other quarterback I have ever, like, look at the week 1 Houston game. You say that to yourself. I have never seen a quarterback make that throw before. And I probably, I don't want to say never because people just get more athletic year after year, but like, I've never seen anything like that. That's what keeps you enamored with Anthony Richardson. With Daniel Jones, it's like, okay, Daniel Jones at his best, he has the Sam Darnold year, or like he has it's a cap. He doesn't have the arm strength of Anthony Richardson. He's not as athletic as Anthony Richardson. So it becomes less enamoring. And then you look at like some of his, obviously the past is hard to convince yourself, where like, I think the thing with Baker or with, Sam Darnold or Geno is like, they didn't have the bank of reps that the Giants have had with Daniel Jones, where like Baker was a little bit, you could still tell yourself it's a little bit of an unknown because he really just got the plug got pulled so quickly. And the same thing.
Well, even in Carolina, he struggled in Carolina.
Exactly. But like, I'm just saying, like, that was kind of like a fake situation. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't like a real. So I think that's where, like, for me to say, like, I totally agree with you that situations matter. So I'm not writing off Daniel Jones.
No, I don't want that.
But I think that's what people are saying is that, like, it's capped with Daniel Jones. Like,
absolutely.
And so the same thing with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. With Patrick Mahomes, the potential is clearly uncapped about what you could do. With Alex Smith, the potential was capped. Like, he can be this for you. We know he can be this. Obviously, he suffers the injury, which is unfortunate. I believe it was in Washington. Right?
Washington, yes.
Yeah, but like, that's what you kind of got out of him, and it feels like we're just spinning the carousel. Here's why I think it could be a little bit different. Daniel Jones is still in his 20s. This is clearly the best offense that he's played in. I think it was very clear when you watched that Hard Knocks of the Giants. It was a toxic situation.
Yeah, I didn't even watch the Hard Knocks.
It was bad. They were
look,
trashing.
Me and you have been talking about this. It feels like for weeks now. I've watched literally, like, much to my wife's chagrin, I have been watching so much Giants film over the last from 2022, 2023, and 2024 because I wanted to see. I watched a lot of 2022 because that's what Shane referenced, right? And that's where Daniel Jones had his success. And so it was like, well, let's see what happened here. But then I also went to 2023, and then I even watched 2024 whenever he was benched. And, you had the Carolina game, which was god awful. You had the Cincinnati game, which was not great. But I wanted to see with my own eyes, like, what did they see that everybody else seems to be missing? And apparently it wasn't just them that saw it too. Kevin O'Connell wanted the guy back. The Vikings were trying to sign him back. Yeah, I mean, like, this is a guy that has been sought out by multiple.
And Schefter continues to say that people around the league like Daniel Jones more than the media.
So, like,
and I think that there's a reason why. He comes in, he's extremely hard worker. Clearly, he is going to, and Riley Leonard references, he's going to get you in the right looks. And I think that's what Shane's is saying. He's like, listen, I dealt with Gardner Minshew in 23, where, like, let's just call it what it is. Gardner Minshew didn't have like crazy arm talent. He probably wasn't as good of a prop. I would even say he might not be as. He was the same thing that Daniel Jones was, a little erratic, all that kind of stuff. Just get me a guy that can get us into the right looks. I believe in the offense around him. I believe in our receivers. I believe in our run game. I believe in our offensive line. We have a Hall of Famer.
And he believes in himself.
And he believes in himself. And I think that's the most important thing. Is
that's
like,
what I said.
I'm going to go down.
Schwartz agreed with. You can argue with Mitchell Schwartz all you want, but I mean,
if he's going to go down,
champion.
He's going to go. If he's going to go down with the ship and get himself fired, I mean, it's going to be fired because I didn't call the right play. I didn't call the right. Like, Daniel Jones is going to get us into the right thing. So, like, right at the end of the day, like, I'm so excited for the season to start so that we can just start talking. Like, I'm not at this point, like, I'm never going to convince anyone that is out on Daniel Jones to be in on Daniel Jones until he goes through.
And I think that's where we both have, like, fallen into, like, the Twitter trap, where people think that by saying this stuff that we are, saying Daniel Jones is this world beater and we're going to win all these games and we're going to compete for Super Bowls and we're going to do all this stuff. I don't think either one of us are saying that. I mean, like you said, like, both of us agree the ceiling is capped. Nobody is arguing that. But
they have a better chance to win than they did last year.
Yes, but exactly. And it's one of those things where a lot of people have really kind of, like, lost the plot because of it's very similar to Steph Curry, right? And not to do, like, the Shane Steichen Steph Curry thing, but we've lost the plot of what it means to be a quarterback in the National Football League. Like, everybody gets enamored now with the next Lamar Jackson or the next Patrick Mahomes or the next Josh Allen. But for every one of those guys, you're going to go through 50 guys like that fail. And it really does come down to the mental game of playing quarterback. And it's the things that people don't see. And Riley Leonard, I thought, like you said, I think he did a fantastic thing there, where it's like, if, Shane calls a play and we get to the line of the scrimmage and the defense all of a sudden shifts their look, and if we stay into that play, we might lose 10 yards. But Daniel Jones can recognize that. He can get us into the correct look and the correct play, and we gain 5. And is anybody going to go crazy over a 5-yard gain? No, you're probably not even going to notice it on the television. You're just going to say, like, oh, good run. Like, that's it. But you don't see what it took to get there. And it's
the subtle stuff. So, like, that's what Minshew did. And I also looked at this too, and I want to do, like, a deeper dive maybe before the season. I don't know how long it'll take me. But, like, when you go watch Gardner Minshew in that 23 offense, you saw a lot more, like, motioning, some more complex motions and shifts. You did see him. So the Colts aren't like the Shanahan system where, like, they're going to often call 2 plays or 3 plays at a time. Like, I don't think they're like that. I'm just a guess of what's happening and just hearing the broadcast. But they do have checks that they can get to if they get premier looks, especially to one side of the formation. And you would see Gardner Minshew signal pretty often in that 23 year. I don't remember. I don't want to say it never happened, but I think really where I didn't see it as much with Anthony Richardson. I did see him signal in a no huddle situation. So like that, obviously you have to do that. But I think it'll give them the opportunity to just run his offense. And I think they're probably, not to boil it down to this, but they're like, let's just go play. Because I hate when people are like, we'll just play point guard. Well, what does that mean? Check the ball down and let your receivers get a bunch of yards after catch? Like, there's no such thing as playing point guard. You're going to have to they're going to take away the easy pass at some point. You're going to have to make something. But it's like, how can we just get through our progressions, not turn the ball over, which is ironic because Daniel Jones does that.
Yes.
But Gardner Minshew also used to be really a big turnover machine, and they got him down to 9 interceptions. So, like, can we prevent Daniel Jones from taking bad sacks, which is something that he's done? Can we prevent him from making silly, stupid errors the longer that he holds the ball? Yeah, I think we can. So,
the overlooked thing with this offense that I think was missing in the Minshew offense is why you see such a stark difference is I don't think they lose. Now, like, is it going to be as dynamic as Richardson? No, but I don't think you lose the +1 quarterback thing with Daniel Jones that you did with Minshew. Like, you still have the ability to, have Daniel Jones pull it and take off.
And you got to be, I think you got to be like a little bit more like with Anthony Richardson, you have to run him.
You have to do it.
You have to do it. With Daniel Jones, you can. And I think that like, that'll be very interesting to see how he toes that line. Cause I think the one thing, and they put this in the Athletic article, and I thought it was really interesting because I noticed it too, is like Daniel Jones doesn't have and Anthony Richardson doesn't really either, but he's a little bit more athletic. So he makes it work. Is like Daniel Jones doesn't really have like wiggle or like slither,
like the twitch.
So like he ends up taking a lot of like almost like a battering ram like Anthony Richardson, and like that's the difference when you look at like mobile quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, like guys that can really run, is like, and why Cam probably didn't last as long as Cam did is like it's hard to be a battering ram, and it's put Anthony Richardson in some tough situations injury wise. With Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, they can kind of it's really interesting to see Lamar. And when you watch him play, like see how he avoids really big hits because he's so twitchy. And
it's
like
crazy.
So like that's the thing that I worry about a little bit with Daniel Jones and running him. Now you can run him, and they probably will run him. But I don't think I think it'll be closer to it'll be like let's split the difference between Richardson running the ball and then Minshew running.
Yes.
So like we need to be able to keep our run, like let's do the bare minimum so that the
defense is honest.
At least keep them honest, and that's
that's probably you can't stack the box with against Jonathan Taylor because that's still there.
That was the problem, and the Colts have gone through some running game woes. I think towards the middle of the season.
When Flacco came in, that was the big issue.
That was the big woe, but they also had a problem running the ball versus the Jets. That was a big problem. The Lions wasn't necessarily great either, but the game got away from them, so they kind of just stopped running the ball. But they've had running game woes, and I think having the quarterback will be a big deal. We obviously saw Jonathan Taylor put up 1,400 yards while missing some games as well. So I ultimately, like, again, it's like I'm ready to stop talking about it and ready to go see it because I think Daniel Jones, if he can just be a little bit more accurate, he has a really good receiving core to work with. He has a tight end who I think the world of. I really do. I have before he was a Colt, but like I think he started to even show Landon, who wasn't as much of a believer, that he's going to be good. He's going to be.
Let's phrase this. It wasn't that I didn't think he was a really good player. Let's just get that out there. It was the whole tight end in the first round whenever, we had some glaring issues. And then I believe I said on the draft show, once they signed Charvarius Ward and Cam,
you walked it back a little bit.
Once they
you thought Loveland was way better. You thought Loveland was way better, which we have to see.
I still think Loveland's going to be a better. I do.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay. What's undeniable is that
situations matter.
That's a very fair point. I think what's undeniable is that Tyler Warren is probably going to unlock this red zone offense.
Yeah,
I think I just use undeniable and
And Tyler Warren is going to unlock. I think Tyler Warren's going to unlock a lot of Daniel Jones too, because the way Daniel Jones targeted, Evan Ingram. I don't know if you remember watching Evan Ingram's, rookie or stuff there with the Giants, but Evan Ingram, even last year with Theo, Daniel Jones was a huge fan of the tight end position, and the Giants never really had that talent like Tyler Warren has. And so like Tyler Warren is one of those guys, like he is a threat. Like Josh Downs is one of those guys. He's a threat to where, even Michael Pittman, big body guy over the middle of the field, like the Giants never really had those type of guys.
This is easily the best. They had Neighbors who they had to get the ball to, but
that was only for 6 games. He had him for 6 games.
So
there was literally film where he was throwing, where Daniel Jones top 2 targets in a game, and this was in 2022, when they him and Brian Daboll and Saquon Barkley said hey, get on our backs, the entire Giants franchise, we're going to the playoffs. There was literally games where his top
and Wink Martindale deserves credit in that run.
Yes, and but it was Isaiah Hodgins and Colts favorite Paris Campbell. Those were the top 2 options Daniel Jones was throwing to.
They didn't have Slayton yet? Did they not?
Slayton was hurt.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so, yeah. So I don't and then it went through a year where Darius Slayton was the number 1 because Galladay never.
Yeah, really Galladay never panned out. I mean, they drafted Wan'Dale Robinson.
Who they like. I do think it's and I want to have this discussion too.
And I like Robinson, but he's very much he's a gadget guy.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Alec Pierce, because to me, if I'm Alec Pierce, I don't love on the surface, you don't love this news. He basically, the Colts didn't win very many games or win as many games as they probably should have, but they used him in very key situations. And with Minshew, I've watched a lot of Minshew because I loved that 23 year is when I created Colts Film Room very early on, but I loved that offense. I loved watching it. I loved studying it. It was it was to me it would never be amongst the most fun for people who are just fans of the league to watch, because they weren't in the playoffs. They didn't put up crazy numbers because they didn't have the talent too. They just didn't have much, and Shane Steichen was just putting.
They were just so steady every week.
Exactly.
Week out.
They were. Yeah, that is exactly how I would describe.
You knew you were getting 21, 22 points a game.
Minshew had a little bit, but everyone criticized Minshew for having this noodle arm, and then they would remember that at Tennessee late in December, where they hit him on a couple big plays, one in overtime to set up the game winner. They had the big post versus the Raiders to score for Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce, sneaky. If you look back at he had a sneaky good December and end of the year that I don't think he got any credit for when people were what is Alec Pierce? Because they didn't know what he is. And he kind of just broke out the scenes when he had Anthony Richardson for the entire year. But it'll be interesting with Daniel Jones, because I think the one knock that you can make on Daniel Jones is that he doesn't have the elite arm. He doesn't even have Flacco's arm, probably. So it'll be really interesting to see how they mitigate that, or what his role in the offense is. Does A.D. Mitchell out-snap him? Let me ask this question. Does A.D. Mitchell out-snap Alec Pierce by week 17?
That, to me, and I think we talked about this yesterday, to me, A.D. Mitchell is the biggest X factor on whether this offense is going to be near the top of the league.
It's crazy to say now, but here's what I look at. They got Bernie's extension done. If they were really wanting to get out ahead of if they really wanted to get out ahead of it, they would have signed Alec Pierce too. And that's not that they think that Alec Pierce is going to be bad, but they also have to look themselves in the mirror and be we did draft this kid in the second round. Reggie loves him. We think he could be if A.D. Mitchell has the highest ceiling of anyone on the team. So if A.D. Mitchell pans out, Alec Pierce, it's been fun. It's been great. But A.D. Mitchell is going to come play for us.
That's the key. And that's why I say he's the biggest X factor, because this is a guy.
That's why they didn't get it done.
This is a guy that
if they wanted to, they would.
Yes. If he hits, he's not replacing Alec Pierce as, that wide receiver 2. He's the wide receiver 1 on the team.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because he's just that he can get open like that, and he's the best route runner on the team. His ceiling's the highest.
And
And,
that's coming from
the
somebody
things
that
he struggled
loves Josh
with,
Downs. My love of Josh Downs is well documented.
Yeah, and I think Josh Downs would be a Colt. He like they'll sign him. I just look back at like the Alec Pierce situation. It's like if they wanted to sign Alec Pierce, they would have. They got Bernie done. So like at first, it's not like, oh, Bernie couldn't get done because we're on the hot seat and like we're not ready to pay everyone and like everyone's no, like they got Bernie done. So like if they really wanted to, they would get Alec Pierce done. I think they view it as like I think that there's a chance AD Mitchell, they are banking on AD Mitchell, or they would have got it done. And maybe they still can sign Alec Pierce as like this backup, but like, how do you not? I don't think it's crazy to say that AD Mitchell. I think that's my bold take. I don't do predictions, but I think that there's a chance AD Mitchell is out snapping Alec Pierce if all goes to plan.
Yes, I agree. He's the biggest X factor for this offense.
Because if he goes like this, and it's also the one thing that you have to point out too, and I think that's a little bit, if things are successful for this regime, they're always going to yield on the players that they brought in. So like if they're around for next year, like this goes well, like the staff is going to is the one who drafted AD Mitchell. The staff didn't draft Alec Pierce. Like if Alec Pierce comes to that contract year and and AD Mitchell has that promising year, like we'll see. Obviously he did have that terrible penalty in Green Bay, but like that's not enough for me to say that. Like, so we'll see. We'll just see.
Yeah. I think that's where we're at.
It is interesting to see AD Mitchell playing the final preseason game, playing late into some later than I would think with some of the 2s and 3s. So maybe it's just a numbers game, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's definitely going to be interesting, man. The season's right around the corner. You guys pretty much hit all the topics in one big segment, in which I dearly enjoy because I really don't have to say much. I just evaluate and listen, and I appreciate that. But before we get out of here, the closing statements, the 53 roster, we're pretty confident from both sides. We pretty much agree that the defensive side is more impressive than the offensive side. Is there any other takeaway that you guys wanted to mention? We can start with Landon before we get out.
No, not really. Just ready to get to the season, get to playing. This is going to be, and I feel like we say this every year, but I do think this holds a lot more weight this year with, the unfortunate passing of Jim Irsay, and now having new ownership. This could be one of the most important seasons in this franchise's history as far as where we go from the future, because there's a very real possibility that this team makes the playoffs. They can make, some noise, and this regime might get a shot at drafting another quarterback, or maybe Richardson, maybe they roll Richardson out next year, now it's time to go. We'll see. Nobody knows.
Okay, so I got a lot of pushback because I'm like, today would be a good day to trade Anthony Richardson. And like
we want to get into this.
I mean, it kind of feels like it feels pointless because this season could go 20 different ways. Like it probably not, but the Anthony Richardson experience, and I'm a believer. I am. Like, it sounds like I'm because if you're not rose colored glasses,
if you're not that he's a Hall of Famer and
then I'm a hater.
Games and he's played unbelievable.
I'm a realist. He's made some unbelievable, ridiculous plays, and there's some fun individual moments from him. But
you can't run an offense like
this.
That.
It's like it doesn't like when can I look myself in the mirror and be like convincing myself that like Anthony Richardson's the guy feels like a fairy tale. It doesn't mean fairy tales can't come true, but like how do I look at that and be like, this is a realistic possibility? And I think the other thing, and this is why I said it, is like, it's a distraction. Daniel Jones comes in there, stinks it up week 1. The first thing anyone's ever going to say is like, this is why we start Anthony Richardson. I'm telling you right now, this is why we start Anthony Richardson. Steichen's going to get up there and say, no, we're staying with Daniel Jones. And like, everyone's going to be like, this guy knows nothing. Fire him right now. Like, this.
Well, they've already done that.
Well, I understand that, but it's only going to it gets way worse when the games. yeah, exactly. It's going to get way louder. And to me, it's like, I'm actually not going to feel bad because this is a distraction that, like, I just find it hard to believe that no one has called the phone to pick up, just be like, hey, let's get Anthony Richardson in here. Like, let's do it. Like that's.
I think there's been phone calls.
Yeah. And because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
I think, I just think that this is an unnecessary distraction at the end of the day. So you start him to the bitter end or you trade him, but like you've benched him twice now. The staff doesn't, when they talk, they don't sound too enthusiastic.
No, like he's still not where
Chris Ballard gets up there and sounds enthusiastic. The staff doesn't.
Yeah, but even Chris Ballard, I mean, like even with that, the whole like we still believe in him, all that. Like you listen to Chris Ballard's press conference, and what's the first thing he says when it comes to Richardson? It's like, still preparation, consistency, making sure you're getting treatment, making sure you're showing up and watching film, like the same things over and over and over again. It's the same stuff, and really, that's why I've pushed back. I know you've had, some stuff out there about it, but like they're telling you everything. They're telling you. I don't want to be like, I don't tell you why he isn't a starter.
I don't want to slander him, but I'm strictly just going off of what reading the tea leaves. Now, some people think I'm crazy for reading these tea leaves because, Steichen doesn't give anything to the media, but it's like when he's like making sure we're watching cut-ups, like I'm supposed to just like ignore that when like he also was benched when they straight up told you he was benched last year for not working hard enough. So like that is like they already told you that.
Yeah, and nobody's saying he's not coming in. Like nobody's saying that it hasn't improved. I think like that's the big like caveat here is like, has he improved in that regard from where he was but when he was benched? Yeah. Is it still where it needs to be a
they weren't happy with the progress.
In the NFL.
They weren't happy with the progress.
And I think the preseason film shows that it's still not where it needs to be.
Yeah, and
it's on film. So
exactly. So like it's one of those things where like it's not that I'm giving up on Anthony Richardson. It's just like hard. It's like hard to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, it's happening here. It really is. Like with this staff, with this one, like that coaches aren't unenthusiastic about players that they are secretly enthusiastic about. So like if they would all talk like Ballard if they all believed in them. That's just my thought. So maybe they just don't like. And I'm not even sure that they're not going to trade him. Like maybe they just don't like the offers right now. Like, we're not going to trade him, so you offer more. Like, will you do it for this instead? Like, I am not.
I don't think they deal him. I don't think they deal him.
I think it's certainly a possibility.
It's the NFL. Micah Parsons got traded yesterday.
And
nothing.
If you're Shane Steichen,
nothing set in stone.
If Shane Steichen, do you want to do the merry-go-round that costed you games last year? This like start sit. No, you want to move forward, and it's probably a situation. If I had to guess, that he wanted, and I'm straight guessing.
If they thought he was, it basically it boils down to this.
They probably want to trade him, and they won't. They're not allowed to trade him.
It boils down to this. If they thought Anthony Richardson gave them the best shot to win football games, Anthony Richardson would be your starting quarterback.
And they don't. So, like, do you think that's going to happen with a couple? And you think it's going to happen with it's just like Shane Steichen doesn't want to answer these questions anymore. Like,
no, and you can't. And I've said this a couple of times too, but we've got a larger audience here, so I'll say it again. You also, as the head coach of a professional football team with guys that have money on the line, like, can you imagine being a wide receiver in that wide receiver room last year, saying, I'm wide open. I'm wide open on this 5-yard out, on this 10-yard out, and I can't get the ball. Like, that costs guys money. That's not just like costing games. That is taking money out of the pockets of guys. And as the head coach, you cannot, once again, now going into year 3, tell guys that we are not going to put you in the best chance to succeed and to win football games for the development of one guy. Because we have one guy that just needs to get it. We are going to sacrifice the other 52 of you. You can't do that. You can't. And they've done the development thing. They've tried it. Here's the thing. The NFL, yes, development is not linear, but it is also not a long, you don't get a long leash in the NFL for these kinds of things. Like, you're going into year 3 and you're still making on film, you're still making mistakes that are obvious mistakes. Like, I mean, you're having your offense, and this was reported. This isn't me breaking news. You're having your offensive line call you out in camp because your cadence is causing too many false start penalties. Like, it's these kind of things that you just can't have going into year 3. And it's not like they haven't tried to hand him the starting job. They've handed it to him for 2 years in a row. And you can't do it a third time and tell the other guys that we're not trying to win games, that we're taking money out of your pocket because you're wide open and your quarterback can't hit a routine play. You can't do it. And so that's just where they're at as an organization. I still love the kid. You know my thoughts. Marcus knows for sure, like, how I feel about Anthony. I love the kid. And this is not saying that he's a bad person or he's a bad kid. Like, he's not. By all accounts, he's a great person. He's a guy that you love to be around. Like, he has so many supporters still in that building. But
this was not. There's no way this was a unanimous decision. About a 0% chance. There was a 0% chance it was a unanimous decision. But, like, at the end of the day, we'll see where it goes from here. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be so wrong. I would love it. I would love it so much. But, like, I look at myself in the mirror and you're like, how do you convince yourself that this is like,
I'm not ready to give up. I'm not.
You're saying it. I'm like, I'm not ready to give up on him. I'm ready to probably give up on him in Indianapolis. Those are two different things. I think a change of scenery, get him. You want, like, Chris Ballard is sitting here saying, like, oh, well, let's give him a chance to not have the pressure to be a starter. Let's have him not have a chance to be a pressure at a starter with the place that he didn't tap out of a game, didn't, like,
people hate that tap out stuff. But I mean, that
get benched for workout. People hate the tap out thing, but, like, it
matters. There's a reason why so many former NFL players and guys that have been in those locker rooms came out and talked about it.
And I'm not saying, and I think I agree. And I'm not saying it's not my place to decide. I'm just saying you want to give him a true fresh start for him to be great. If I'm, like, all in on Anthony Richardson and I don't care what team he plays for, I want him to go play somewhere else. Like, give him a chance to be a fresh start, get out of here, go reinvent yourself somewhere else.
I agree, but that also admits that's also Ballard admitting he blew the 4th overall pick and blew the quarterback situation again. And for a guy that's
which is why he's not doing it.
Like for a guy fighting for his job, and like, let's make no mistake about it, they're fighting for their jobs. They are, and so it's you can't admit that it's a failure until you're fired, basically, or until you have a good enough season and make enough noise that ownership is comfortable saying, okay, we're going to give you another crack at this.
But here's the thing that's, like, ridiculous is, like, them, like, petitioning Anthony as, like, oh, well, like, he's one play away and, like, all this stuff like that, like, as if, like, obviously they're referring to injury, but, like, if Daniel Jones isn't good and this season starts 1-3, they're probably gone. It's like, that's just the reality of the situation by starting Daniel Jones.
They're going to burn it down. And that's why I said, like, this is such a crucial season for the franchise because you have new owners. And when I say, like, and I know when you say it too, and you'll understand, like, when you say, like, they're gone, we're not talking about, like, Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard. I mean, you're talking about full roster.
Name your favorite Colt. Name your favorite Colt.
Exactly.
Everyone that was re-signed after the
Michael Pittman Jr., you're probably gone. Jonathan Taylor, you're probably
gone. Quentin Nelson.
I would. Maybe he sticks around. I mean, like that.
I don't know.
But I mean, like, you're talking about
all these people have no guarantees in their contracts. That's the thing that you have to keep in mind. Everyone that was re-signed at the We Like Our Guys era,
everything ends. Any more, gone.
All gone. So, like, unless they're but, like, probably gone. So, like,
you're tearing it down to the studs.
Exactly. Like, the NFL, like, people probably because they've had Chris Ballard as a GM, who's certainly hit on some picks. So they've gotten second contracts and build through the draft. They don't realize how fast like the rest of the league is turning over rosters. We're like, go look at this team in 23. It's already
Go look at Washington.
Yeah, like go like people are like they are turning over. Now the difference with some of those people is they were so bad that there was no one to really keep. Like, who are you going to keep? They didn't really have franchise cornerstones. This is a little bit different where like I don't think every single person that has no guarantees, but like a lot of them, like JT definitely gone. He's gonna be a running back heading into his 30s.
Yeah, I mean, like you're gonna keep guys like Raymond who just signed his deal. You're gonna keep guys like
the difference is like and then that's why the Ursay has probably approved this move. It's like, listen, if worst case scenario we tear this thing to the shreds, like we still have franchise cornerstones that we want on this team for the next regime. And like obviously the next GM is we're not hiring guys stupid enough not to have X, Y, and Z on the team. So like that's certainly part of it. I think the pressure is obviously really high this season. It's the pressure
higher than it's ever been
because this is only getting louder. It's only going to get louder. If Daniel Jones has one bag, if Daniel Jones isn't in a shootout with Miami, or like they lose this game in a bad fashion, and there was not a lot of bright spots, and the stats and the box score doesn't look great, what do you think the first question he's getting asked is? What do you think the first thing they're talking about on morning talk show?
Yeah, I was going to say, good morning football.
Anthony is in the shadows, just watching it. Like, he might be benched right now, but all it takes is one bet for this thing to get louder and louder, and all the people there's like, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Like, they'll be out.
Now, one thing I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see.
It's like if you want to have the best success for everyone involved, it just feels like you move on. It just feels
I don't think you're throwing Riley Leonard out there and hiring Jeff Saturday. You know, I don't think those.
I was also suggesting, but like before 53-man cut, like teams found backup quarterbacks in the situation,
and the Colts had 3 guys that were cut that were claimed, which was second highest in the league. So clearly, other teams.
They're a bottom of the roster merchant.
Yeah.
People love their bottom of the roster. No, I mean, like, obviously Jelani Woods was going to get claimed. Obviously Juju Brents was going to get claimed. They cut some guys. So, like, overall, I love the approach of this offseason. It could go terribly wrong. And I'm willing to, like, I'm not saying this as like a prediction. Like, I'm ready to stamp that they've done everything right. But
I think if AR gets moved, it's in the offseason.
Well, yeah, I'm done with the AR move. Just because, like, it's not happening at this point, and it's probably for reasons that are stupid, and it is what it is. I want to see Anthony Richardson do well, and like I don't know how you convince yourself it's in Indianapolis anymore. I would love to be wrong.
Oh yeah.
But you know, ultimately, I think looking towards this season, we'll see what happens, but this is like way more exciting than 2024 for those reasons. Where like I feel like we're looking at a Jeff Saturday year, or we are looking at like Sam Darnold, like to the playoffs, like 2021 Phil Rivers type, like we're on a run type year.
Yeah. See, but that's the thing is like everything's so unpredictable, and that's because you have new owners. Everything's so unpredictable. Right?
Well, like, yeah, it's also the new quarterback situation.
Playoffs as a wild card team, the Colts, Chris Ballard makes the playoffs finally, and they get just trounced in round 1 and just bye, you're done, bounced out.
I think if they make the playoffs,
they don't survive that.
No,
you can make the playoffs.
Yes, they do.
You can make an argument that they make the playoffs and they don't survive.
No, they can't. You can't. Well, maybe Ballard, but like, no, not even Shane Steichen shouldn't. Like, he went 9 and 8, 8 and 9, and then probably
I think firing Shane Steichen would be one of the biggest mistakes that this team could make.
I would debate changing my name to NFL Film Room to figure out where his next, just to cover his offense somewhere else. Like, he signed a 6-year deal. He's going into halfway of it.
Yeah.
Like, I just find out he's not getting fired if they make the playoffs. I'll tell you that. No. I think the rumors that were kind of out there at the Black Monday last year of oh, we're going to fire Ballard, but we like Steichen. That was kind of floating out there. Never. Now, obviously, they kept both of them, but
letting Shane kind of pick his GM to work with and build this team.
Yes,
because we have to remember,
I think that's possible. I think that's
this is
possible.
the first iteration. I really do think this is the first. Sorry for talking over you. I really do think, and I think you would agree as well, this is the first iteration really that we are actually going to see of like Shane's team. Like this is the first offensive or defensive coordinator that Shane has chosen. These are finally the first three, because I always say like it takes 3 years to remake a roster into your, into what you view as a coach. Like the Josh Downs pick, that's Shane Steichen.
How many people are here from? How many like non-cornerstone? Like I'm talking Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith, DeForest Buckner, Kenny Moore. How many of those guys were here when Frank Reich was still the coach?
Yeah, I mean Zaire.
Yeah, but okay.
Zaire, Buckner, Grove, like those guys.
He was a captain. He was a captain. I'm talking like Granson gone, Jelani Woods gone. I mean, obviously he was pretty much gone already. Well, there's actually more than we think, but that's also because of Ballard. Yeah. Like if they had a new GM, there would probably be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Is like this is kind of like, to me, you're getting into like the first real season of like Shane Steichen kind of making his imprint on this.
I think we're the only two people that haven't given up on Shane Steichen.
Probably not, but that's okay. I think he's an unbelievable head coach. People don't realize how hard it is to win football games in this league, and especially win football games when you have a bottom 3 defense and a bottom 3 quarterback. Like
if they can fix that, there's so many reasons to like look at it and be like, okay,
that's what I'm saying. Like this dude is 500 and is knocked on the doors of the playoffs. Like even late last year, like there was shots that like if you win like 2 or 3 of these games after the Patriots game, after the Jets game, if they won 2 or 3 of those next games, they're in the playoffs. Like they're playing late into the season and they have something to play for. And like to do that with one of the worst defenses in the league and one of the worst quarterback situations in the league, and to have not bottomed out. That takes a ridiculous coaching job. It does. Like it's just a ridiculous job of coaching. So he's betting everything on himself. I'm betting everything on him this season.
I'm putting all my Shane Steichen chips into the pot, and I'm saying, watch this. That's what I'm saying.
It's not. I agree. It's not the Daniel Jones show this year. To me, this is the Shane Steichen show.
And, I love that. You should tweet that out. You should tweet that out. Because I love that. And I think I seriously like it. I'm putting all my chips in the pot, and I'm saying watch this, because I think you go watch the 23 team and they were bad. They were not a good team. They basically rolled over the 22.
It was the almost exact same roster that won 4 games the year before.
So for reference, just to talk this through quick. They had Jonathan Taylor, but they didn't really have Jonathan Taylor. He was injured he was on PUP to start the year.
Yeah. And then the contract dispute, and then he missed all of camp, all that shit.
So he missed all of camp, but he also went on PUP. So he missed the first 4 weeks. Then he also had like a toe injury or something like that. Yeah. So he missed, or maybe it was a wrist. It was one of those.
I think he played 10 games.
He missed a big stretch in there, and he was, but he wasn't even taking full, reps.
Zach Moss to start the year.
Zach Moss and Tyler Goodson were like the other players on the team. Then, so you had left tackle Birdie, who had really emerged for the first year. They had the left side of the line. They had Kelly, but they didn't really have Kelly. So they had like Danny Pinter and Wesley French start. Like Wesley French started the Rams game, I'm pretty sure. Then you had Will Fries in there, who was obviously turned into like real good Will Fries. And then you obviously had Braden Smith, but you also had Blake Freeland for a lot of the year as well. Mm-hmm. On the wide receiver core, you had Michael Pittman, who obviously has the 100-yard catch season because they just fed him. He was like the one constant. You had Josh Downs, who was also injured for part of the year, but he was also a rookie. So like he flashed a lot as a rookie, but he was not 24 Josh Downs. And then you had Alec Pierce, who really wasn't Alec. And then you had an Isaiah McKenzie. Like that's the roster. And then you had 2 tight ends on the roster in
You had Mo Alley Cox and Kylan Granson and Jelani Woods.
Exactly.
For like
Johnny Woods was injured the entire year that year.
Yeah. No, he wasn't injured the whole year. Not the whole year. Not in 23. He was last year injured.
I don't think Jelani Woods took a 23 snap.
He had like three. He had
the coaching staff didn't know yet. No, that he was injured the entire year. I don't think he took a 23 snap.
No, he had like 3 touchdowns because there was that one.
I think he got injured in the preseason.
No, hold on a sec. Statistics.
There's no way Jelani Woods had
312.
Woods didn't play in 23. He did not play in 23 because I remember the whole storyline before 24 was like, oh, you didn't know we had this.
It was 22. I'm thinking of So
yeah,
he
was 22.
23 and 24.
So they didn't have any of that. Then on the defensive side of the ball in 23, they were again rolling out Juju Brents, who really wasn't starting. So it was
he's hurt all the time too.
It was rookie Jalen Jones, Dallas Flowers, Julian Blackman.
Oh God.
Maybe it was Rodney Thomas and Nick Cross. I think Nick Cross, but Nick Cross hadn't really broken out either.
Yeah, I was playing Thomas over.
They had obviously DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, who were monsters. They had Ebu Kam, who was the defensive line was promising. They had Taekwon Lewis, who really
Darrell Baker Jr. That was your
Darrell Baker. Yeah, Darrell Baker. I remember the Browns game. So
you had the ghost of Shaquille Leonard played 9 games.
Yep, and then you had a soft schedule in that year. You did. You played the NFC South and you played the AFC North. So you had a softer schedule with the NFC South. Like they feasted on the NFC South, if I remember. But there was a lot of reasons. They still pull out 9 wins. So it's just like
That's insane.
I think with that roster but now you look at it, you have like guys. You have Josh Downs in an extension year, not a contract year, but an extension year. You have Alec Pearson, a contract year, who we know has broken out. I'm very interested to see what his role is in the offense. I don't believe that Noodle Arm Jones isn't getting him the ball. Like they're going to find a way to get him the ball. Tyler Warren, who I think is just going to be, I think he's going to be a beast in the red zone. That's the one thing that's played these Shane Steichen offenses. They haven't been great in the red zone. They have Jonathan Taylor healthy for all 17 games. They have DJ Giddens, who we'll see if he's on the level of Zach Moss was good that year for sure. Zach Moss
Goodson had a great preseason.
Goodson rounds out that room. The offensive line, I think, is questionable, but for different reasons. Probably similar level of question.
They're still talented.
They're still talented though. Like you're going to get. I think they believe in Jalen Travis too as a swing tackle.
I agree.
At the right tackle position because I love Braden Smith when he plays, but it's unfortunate that
he had some really really promising reps on tape this preseason.
And then the right guard position, we'll see what that's a risk with Gonzalez. We'll see what happens.
But Gonzalez, I mean, like nobody can doubt. Like he has had and I think there were even reps this preseason where and I know I've been one of the biggest ones that's this is concerning, right? But and Tony Sperano Jr. has done a fantastic job with that group. So to me, it was more when Gonzalez attacks guys, he's been fantastic. It's when he gets kind of apprehensive and stuff like that. If he plays,
but you can't jump set every time. That's
I meant mentality wise when he goes whenever he gets. I'm not talking about him back or anything. I just meant from a mentality standpoint.
Gotcha. Yeah, totally. So and then you have you have the two. I think the rookie center is a big thing but you have, and I also think that's another reason to like Jones is you really can't have a rookie center because the center has so much protection in this offense. Having a rookie center and a quarterback that doesn't matter.
But he's not a rookie. I mean, he's going into his second year too, and he plays.
No, I know, but it's his first year really calling the protection for 17 weeks. So, again, I'm trying not to do the fan thing where you get optimistic, but
there's a lot to be optimistic.
I think that there's when I envision to try and envision what they're envisioning, which is the 23 offense. But doing that with a better team, it's I've convinced
in a better defense,
and hopefully a better, way more talented defense. I'm provided there isn't massive injuries, which always seems to happen to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes,
I've convinced myself that they're going to be right. I think they're probably more competitive. Now, Daniel Jones can't revert back to like throwing crucial interceptions, because I think that with Anthony Richardson, the one thing is like he did have some really high like he had his turnover rate was high, but it came in like bad times. So like he had like really bad games where he would have multiple turnovers, but he would also have stretches of not. So like the Packers game and the Bears game, I think he had like 2 or 3 each.
Yeah.
So that was like 6 right there. I think that's exactly what they're thinking.
I agree. And I would agree.
Can Jones be a little bit better than Gardner Minshew was to help us go into Houston and win a game? Like we haven't won a game in Houston until early 23, but like that was rookie CJ. Like we haven't matched up with Houston well the past 3 times. So like we got outclassed versus Houston in 24.
Yeah, like Nico Collins. That's all you had to do. Because I remember going into that game and Marcus was like, "What's your keys to the game?" And I was like, "Guard Nico Collins."
First play of the game.
Yeah, that's the key to the game. Guard Nico.
Juju Brents gets burnt. Which I mean, like, you know, is what it is. I'm excited about the year. I really am. Yeah, I know it's
we talked about Charvarius Ward and how he's looked.
He's right. Yeah, I mean, like he played a little bit in the preseason game.
But by all accounts,
he was guarding me out there.
Well, by all accounts, in the joint practices, especially that Baltimore joint practice, like I heard that dude was just like making guys like cry out there. Like he had Baltimore's guys on lock.
Yeah. So I think it'll be talk myself. I'm doing it for different reasons though. Like I sat here and like I feel like I got in 24. Like I did land it. Like I sat here and I did. I was like I fell for the Ballard but I really fell for like I loved the 23. Like I probably overhyped the 23. So I'm like, oh, just whatever they do in 24 is fine. We got the head coach. Like we're getting Anthony Richardson for like this is fine. And then I think they learned a lot of valuable lessons. I think I'm probably more excited for different reasons though, because they got aggressive in spots.
I am. I'm just this is funny because I think we talked about this yesterday too, or maybe it was earlier today. I don't know, but I think both of us agreed from just like a film perspective and from a like game perspective. I think just watching a functional offense is exciting.
24 was not functional. It was I think you put it too in our DMs. It was like, you really can't win a ton of games running the quarterback to the level that they did and then like throwing go balls.
Yeah.
So
you can't build an offense around QB counter and 4 verts.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what you said. It's like, that's why I also think like this was a top half of the league offense, given all that happened.
It was 13th. It was 9th with Gardner Minshew. 9th.
And people want this dude gone because they don't like what he says in a press conference. And it's just like, oh man, I'm getting fired up, man.
Crazy.
People don't understand that like they could get some, oh my God, they could get some sort of like
you could get Matt Nagy.
There's so much worse that you can do than Shane Steichen. And like, I will carry this guy's water until he's on another team. I just like
that comment made me laugh.
The QB
up there. Quarterback draw 4 verts works in Madden.
I think
he's being sarcastic.
I think we ran the gambit, but this is what we do. We just talk until there's no more things to talk about.
Yeah,
but I think we covered everything.
We haven't done.
We didn't cover the kicker situation.
No.
Okay. No, I think it's good. I think Landon and I are like we have 24. We totally disagreed on things. I think 25. This is the most agreeable Landon and I have ever been. And
I've never been so happy in my life.
And I will say, I was right about 24 a lot.
I'd have to go back and see what I said. I'd have to go see what I said.
I was way more pessimistic.
Signing Justin Simmons wouldn't have done anything. By the
No.
way, I was right about that. Signing Justin Simmons would have done anything. He really wasn't. He didn't have the year that people thought. He wasn't the player that people thought they were getting. Signing Quandre Diggs didn't particularly work out. Trading for L'Jarius Sneed didn't particularly work out.
The safety play was actually decent last year.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think
that was the most surprising thing was the set. Like once
Blackman
Samuel Womack came in, the secondary play improved dramatically.
Yep. So like I think I was right about some things. Where I was wrong, I probably about Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, the quarterback part.
Probably a little bit about Anthony Richardson. Probably wrong about him. And that's maybe because I'm unfairly harsh, but like I don't know. I was probably the preseason. I was probably overhyping this thing a little bit too much.
What was my biggest gripe heading into the 24 season?
The secondary. Everyone was the secondary, which they were right about. But I think that like my thing was like probably should have done that in the draft. And I know, but looking at it today, like obviously they didn't have a big season, but like they went and they got Bortolini and Gonzalez when they could have dipped in and got like Mikey Samerstill or like who I forgot whatever the day 2 corners were that year. And like I'm sure right now they don't get it. That's 2 starters on their offensive line in day 2 or day 2 and 3. Early day 3.
And like it was all predicated, and like that's something that I said is like this is all like predicated on like how like my offseason approach was like this is all predicated in what they do in March. And what they did in March was they went out, signed Charvarius Ward, signed Cam Bynum, tried to shore
really
up.
What they did in February.
Yeah.
They're hiring Chris Hewitt. Like
yes, exactly. Like the staff they've put together. I think just
they won you over in March. They did.
Yeah, they did.
Over in March.
And so that's why whenever they took Tyler Warren at 14, it was just one of those things where it's like, cool, let's roll. Like I can get on board with this. I see why they did it. And that's because of what they did in the 2 months prior.
I was actually
now, if they would have done the Chris Ballard. Yeah, now if they would have done like the Chris Ballard thing that he's done in like the previous 7 years, where he would have went into the draft and completely ignored the secondary and took a tight end in the 14th overall and didn't take a cornerback until like the 6th round, then we're sitting here right now and we're having a completely different conversation.
I agree. I totally agree. I think there's a lot they went out and spent in free agency. They structured the comp. We don't remember that the Colts never do what they did, structuring these contracts and pushing money into the future so that they can lower their cap hit in current years. They did that. Everyone was loving free agency until the Daniel Jones contract happened. And it is what it is.
It's funny too.
I was wrong about some things. For sure, but I've learned those lessons and I'm not going to be wrong about them again. I think if you were to hand me the keys, I'd probably do something very similar to what Chris Ballard did this year.
I would do it. I would do exactly what they've done.
No, you weren't. You would have taken. You would have traded up for Colson Loveland if you knew the Bears were going to take him.
No, if I would have traded up,
you would have.
I would have traded up for a tight end in the first round.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, like
come on. You would have. Okay, I would have because I would have signed Charvarius Ward. I would have signed. It was him and Javon Holland. I think you probably pick your point. I think I liked Cam Bynum better. I would have said those both needed to be available, or both need to be. I think they've been aggressive.
Dudes, like they needed dudes. They didn't need warm bodies, which is what they really needed last year. They just needed bodies out there. They need guys.
Yeah. Yep. And they got it.
Yeah,
the secondary is going to be thick.
And that took care of my biggest problem.
Injuries have been a problem because we thought Justin Wally was going to be that.
Oh man, that kid was going to. Oh god, that kid was going to be a stud. I think he still is. He still is.
So it's one of those things. So I mean, he won the staff over really, really early, and then it felt like he was going to win that. So like injuries happen, and then they continue to get aggressive. Now, here's the thing about Xavier Howard: we can't talk about Xavier Howard like he's a Pro Bowl player, but like they're getting aggressive with players they trust. So,
yep, it's trust. That's what it is. 2025, the Indianapolis Colts. Trust.
The trust season. That's what we're gonna call it.
Season of trust.
Yep. That's perfect though. So
So now they're going to win over the fans' trust because that's the next part.
win over Landon. That's the objective.
Oh, they've won me over. I'm fully on board with the 2025 Colts. And by saying I think this team is going to be a Super Bowl contender. No, I don't want to put that out like in people's heads. I don't think this team is going into Arrowhead in January and going toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes. Like they're still a ways
because playoff experience matters and the Colts have none of it. So
yeah,
that's partially
that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like, can this team win the AFC South for the first time since 2013? Yes. Absolutely.
I agree. Oh, I agree. But it would take I absolutely think they can too. I think they have the best offensive play caller in the division.
I love it. Love it. Well, you guys share your thoughts in the comment section, post stream or right now. Share your thoughts. We'll get back to it. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I got to go get a haircut, but we appreciate you guys. That's Landon. That's Colts Film Room. We'll be back. Of course, we got more content dropping when we get some more stuff coming forward when the season comes around the corner.
Yeah, next week we got the Miami preview.
Yes, sir. We're going to be here right back. So you guys
somebody's been watching a lot of Miami film down there in the corner.
Yeah, I have. I did put together something. I think it'll be a very interesting test because Miami's kind of this weird team, very, very weird team to start the year, just because you really don't know. Sorry, I keep going. You don't really know who Miami is at this point. They are a team that just unsure, just really unsure because they at their best they are, and the Colts saw them last year, but they didn't really see him because they didn't see Tua. So they really didn't get to see what it looked like. So that'd be really interesting. I think it'll be certainly a test on some of these corners. So
yeah, gotta earn that money.
Gotta earn it. But that's all we got for you guys. Have a safe weekend. Enjoy your weekend as well. And we will see you guys next week.